Hey guys, Naomi here. I just got out of a conference and I wanted to discuss with you a few of the things that were said in one particular dissertation that talked about change. Now, when a lot of people think about the word change, a lot of alarm bells start going on in their head, and they asked us to kind of identify some words that come to mind when the word change is said. So a lot of people started talking about basically discomfort, uncertainty, just the unknown, and it was said that the unknown creates discomfort. Now, a lot of people said that they were afraid of change, and I think that as human beings, we don't necessarily love change, but we should learn to adapt to it. Now, change is not always a negative thing, and that was another thing that the speaker mentioned. He said that there were opportunities to be innovative, to be creative, to learn new things, to learn about character, how to adapt, and so on and so forth. So he basically kind of told us that change can also be viewed as something positive. Now, not many people view it like that the very first time that change is mentioned to them. And that was also because he said, a lot of people think, well, what's in it for me, or how does this affect me? So one of the ways to get around that way of thinking is kind of trying to find out the reason why something is changing. If you know the reason why, sometimes it's easier to adapt, sometimes it's easier to make those changes, implement those changes, find out how to make those changes, what's expected of you. So in the case of bettering yourself in respects to health and nutrition and exercising, when you read an article or you have a health coach that's basically telling you, I need you to do this, that, or the other, or this possible diet protocol would better suit you, or this way of exercising is better for you, find out why. Either do more research on the topic, or if you do have a health coach, you can ask them, why do you think this is the best protocol for me? That's really important, because if you start to understand the reasoning behind things, you'll better understand why this is expected of you, and it'll make it easier for you to implement. Now, that doesn't mean that right off the bat, you know why. You're going to go be off and running and everything is going to be smooth sailing after that. On the contrary, he did say that there were several kind of phases to change. Now, one of those changes is, he said it started out with denial, which I thought was really interesting. He says it starts off with denial, and I've kind of experienced that when I've helped a particular client, and they're like, well, I don't want to follow this type of protocol, or why do I have to do this way? Or so kind of denial is the first thing that you want to tackle. From there, you kind of get the resistance phase. So the resistance phase is practically, what did he say? He said anger, fighting, you can't sleep, I don't like it, and you're kind of withdrawn. So he mentioned that not only time will help with this, but kind of the faster you get around this, the faster you get over this, basically, you'll be able to then go on into the exploration phase, which he said, even though it was kind of an overwhelming phase, it would also be one that you can come up with new ideas, have things to do, trying to troubleshoot and see what works best for you. Now, just because a health coach will tell you, to do this or that, this may seem like the right thing for you to do at the moment. But I want you to understand that only you, can be the determining factor of whether that is actually good for you. Now, the reason why I say that is because as a health coach, we can take your information. We can see if you have prior injuries, if you have any discrepancies when it comes to your dietary needs, if you have basically how many diets you've done in the past. Are you a yo-yo dieter? Do you like to binge on the weekend? I shouldn't say like, but do you usually binge on the weekend? See, that's a lot of things that a health coach can actually gather information and kind of prescribe you the right protocol to follow. Now, sometimes as a health coach, when we do this, again, we're just trying to gather information where we don't really know you. No one knows you better than yourself. So it's always important to kind of go off of your own biofeedback, how you're feeling. Are you feeling irritable? Are you feeling tired? Are you hungry? Are you cranky? What are those signs that are actually telling you to do this, that, or the other? And report those signs to your coach, because your body is the best determining factor of what's best for you. That's one of those things. Now, after you pass that exploration phase, you kind of get into that commitment phase. That commitment phase where you say, yeah, this is working. This is awesome for me. I want to continue to do this. I can see myself doing this long term, right? Because that's a key factor. You want to be able to do what you're doing long term. You don't want to make this where it's kind of like about losing 5, 10, 15, 30, 50 pounds and that's it, I'm done. It should be a process. It should be a process that you fall in love with and one that you're willing to do for the long haul. Now, one of the things that he mentioned, which I thought was so true, he said that you have approximately 100 thoughts that go through your mind a minute, and 75% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. So you have to train yourself to train yourself to be positive, to think positively, to do things differently, to implement that change and do so in a manner that you can cope with, that it's not as overwhelming. So again, going back to health and fitness, those changes are going to be gradual. They're not going to be something that you do wham bam and that's it, I'm done, I've got it, I'm 100%. No, this is for the long haul. And when it's for the long haul, it does take time. So I want you to think, what can I do? Just one change that I can do that's not going to be so overwhelming, that I can implement and I can continue working on. Because again, it may be something that you start doing and then 5-6 weeks from now you say, oh, I fell off the wagon. It doesn't matter. Get back on. It doesn't mean that you're going to have an unbalanced life. It does mean that you will try to figure out what your triggers are. So if you are the type of person that's used to having a can of soda or more every single day, kind of see how that's making you feel. Do you feel tired? Do you feel amped up? Is it not letting you sleep at night? Do you feel sluggish? Or have you gained extra amount of weight just because you've added that extra can of soda, of pop every day? So that's one of the things you want to see and say, okay, well, maybe instead of having 2 cans of soda today, I'm just going to have the one. And the next day, you do the same thing. And the next day, you do the same thing. And the next day, maybe you have 2 soda pops again. And the next day, you go back down to 1. So try to see how you can implement small changes where the next week, you have 1 soda a day. The next day, you skip the soda, you drink more water, etc., etc., etc. Try to make those changes gradual. If you do them all at once, you are going to get super, super overwhelmed, and that's not what you want. So, last but not least, one of the things that he asked us to do was kind of write out what we can do to stay positive, to remain positive during those times that we have changes looming over us, okay? Now, some of the things that I wrote down was to read motivational books or self-improvement books. I love those. One of the ones that I'm currently reading is The Power of Habit. I totally recommend that book if you are trying to implement different changes in your life, whatever they may be, even if they're different than health, fitness, nutrition, etc. This is the book right here. It's written by Charles Duhigg, Duhigg. That's one. Watch a TED Talk. There's so many TED Talks on YouTube nowadays for just motivational speaking. You have to watch TED Talks. I mean, even while you're doing the laundry, while you're washing dishes, while you're taking your dog out for a walk, hear a TED Talk. Just hear it. You don't even have to look at it on your phone, on your iPad, you just hear it. And that'll make a great difference. And there are a lot of them ranging from 5 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour. So choose your poison. This one's one of my favorite TED Talks, How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over by Mel Robbins. Another one was choose your company wisely. I mean, they say that the 5 people who you hang out with the most are the 5 people whom you end up acting like, thinking like, being like. This is what sociology is based on. So imagine those 5 people. If you're constantly with somebody that's a negative Nelly, guess what? You're going to become a negative Nelly. So always try to choose somebody that's going to be much more positive from you than you. If it was said before, if you are the smartest person in a room, you are in the wrong room. You always want to be with someone that's a bit smarter than you so you can actually learn. 4th, again, train your mind to be positive with daily affirmations. They do work. Try to pick one, do it every single day in the morning. While you're watching yourself in the mirror, you might feel funny at first, but they do work. One of the things that Oprah said was to have a gratitude journal. So a gratitude journal, write out what you're grateful for every single day instead of complaining about what's so wrong in your life or how you can't follow through doing this, that, or the other. Write it out. Write out what you are so blessed over. Some of the things that other people in this class said were to compliment others, do unto others, give gifts to other people, make others feel good, sing it out, dance it out, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't overanalyze. I know as a thinker, I am a super overanalyzer, and I know if you're a thinker, you know exactly how that feels. You're always constantly trying to overanalyze a situation, and more often than not, it's to our own detriment, so don't do that. And one of the things that he said to reduce the stress, don't overlive it. Don't relive the situation. You do that by telling your friend about it, your spouse about it, your coworker about it. And once you start retelling that story, you are going to get stressed. You get all those same feelings and the same vibes that you were feeling when that situation was going on. So don't relive it. Just, it happened, get over it, move on. Find joy in the little things. Take an interest in others. It was already said, smile. Just try to smile even when you're not feeling it. A genuine smile. And last but not least, and I thought it was funny when this was said, but one of the guys said, if all else fails, take meds. Now, again, some people laughed when he said this, but this is actually no laughing matter. If you have issues with mental health, bipolar depression, whatever it may be, maybe it's time to visit someone. Visit someone, see if you can get counseled without any medication for a while. And if your doctor prescribes it, see how that goes. See if it's doctor recommended, it's something that you should possibly just take into consideration. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it. Maybe there are other ways that you can kind of go around it. I always like to look at what you're putting into your body first, nutritionally, holistically. Maybe there are different herbs that can help you to balance out. I always try to seek the natural way of doing things first, holistically, organically, rather than just kind of popping pills. So that's always a kind of, in my opinion, the best way to go about things. But from there on out, if you are prescribed medication, there's nothing to be ashamed of about that. There's absolutely nothing. And sometimes just with counseling, that's it. That's all that it is. So that's all that's the only thing you'll need to help you. So take those things into consideration. Don't be afraid of change. Sometimes change is one of the best things that can happen. And one of the things that I always think to myself when I'm going through a change is, and I want you to think this the next time you're going through a big change in your life, nothing is ever as bad as you imagine it to be. And it really isn't. that's all, folks. That's all she wrote. So have a good day. Try to implement these changes. Try to implement these changes in your life. Again, if you're going through a big change or little changes, or if you're trying to make a better health decision, try to take these things into consideration. Start small, build on those changes, those achievements that you make along the way. They will snowball into really bigger changes, and one day you'll look back and think to yourself how those small changes overwhelmed you in the first place, because they'll be part of your lifestyle. They'll be part of your natural habits going forward. Have a good day, guys. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.